Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy IV, this time with us getting through the last part of the Tower of Zot and hopefully save Rosa.
I can't wait to get out of this nonsensical tower that's just floating in the air for no reason.
Hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? We've barely started today and we're already getting into a fight with someone.
Actually, it looks like there's multiple people here, and they seem to be serving someone named Barbariccia, but I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name or not. Either way, I think we need to take these otherwise completely random characters down.
Barely 30 seconds in, and we're getting straight into the action here. Let's do this.
Guys, maybe we can reason with them. I mean, to be honest, I think the tall one needs to get to Joe Riz, if you know what I mean.
Oh, no, not this again.
I also think some hair sniffing is needed if I have the chance with the one in front.
Joe, please, I can't exactly remember which one of the Mega Sisters do which attack, and you getting attracted to every feminine-looking character in the game certainly doesn't help me.
Come on, Barack, you can't blame me for this. I think it's a very reasonable reaction.
I may regret asking this, but is there any reason why you haven't said anything about the one in the middle? I'm not complaining that I haven't heard your Joe Riz attempts on her, but I thought it was interesting why you only focused on 2 of the 3.
It would be best for everyone if I didn't explain that one. Since I don't think you've done it for a while, do you want to do one of your roasting sessions for the boss fight, Ben?
Oh yeah, you better believe it. Mega Sisters, you are about to fail because the presidents and I are about to show you what it's like to be superior gamers. All of you are only technically considered a boss fight because you probably would be nothing more than a regular encounter on your own. You pick fights with us out of absolutely nowhere and you're going to be losing just as quickly. I assume you all have parents, but they should be ashamed of themselves for letting you out into the world.
I don't know, Ben. I think only some of these roasts are really sticking right now.
That's all right now that 2 of them are down. I only have 1 of them to focus on now. Objectively, you are heavier than the others, which isn't an indicator of your overall value as a person, but is indicative of you eating more than your other sisters that got destroyed figuratively and literally. When you go to the afterlife, and if you go to heaven, try not to eat the halo thinking it's an onion ring.
Wait a minute, guys. How did those 2 come back? I thought they were supposed to stay down, but they're not.
So the middle one can actually revive the other 2. I knew one of them could do that, and I just forgot which one it was, so that's my mistake. We can just cut ahead a little bit since this battle is really just more of the same, and there's not much variation from here on.
That's fine. If anything, it keeps them from being the constant target of my roasts, so they should be happy they don't have to be in the battle longer than they have to.
Honestly, your roasts weren't all that great. The one about the onion ring was pretty funny, but other than that, I don't think they really stuck the landing.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm a little out of practice since our editor decides he's going to upload every other video type besides this one. We'll be lucky to finish this game by the end of the year at this rate.
You are definitely right on that, but now it's time to actually focus on the game. This is a pivotal point where the characters are finally able to make the exchange of the crystal and Rosa, but Tella is more concerned about getting revenge than anything else.
Considering how he was in some part involved in killing his daughter, yeah, that makes a fair amount of sense. I can't really blame him on that one.
Now, Ben, you don't have to worry about bringing out your roast game as the encounter against Golbez is completely scripted and there's no input from the player at all. Tella will just use his more powerful spells until he decides to pull out the meteor attack. What's interesting about that is it requires 99 magic power to use, which Tella doesn't actually have, so he has to use his own life force, which isn't a good idea, as you can probably tell.
He seems to be really old, so yeah, him taking the last bit of his life in some sort of revenge quest isn't really the best plan, but given his circumstances, it is still an understandable, if not flawed, motivation.
I feel like there's a lesson in here somewhere like don't throw meteors at someone, otherwise you'll probably die.
I feel like that's a little too specific to this exact situation. And I think a more general lesson would be that revenge is bad and you shouldn't do it.
That would be correct, George, especially since your Tella was able to weaken Golbez and break his concentration on controlling Cain, but he didn't kill him like he intended, so it really was just him wasting his life. Also not really related, but some of you may have noticed we are speeding up some of the footage for these scenes as they were initially very slow and wanted to have less downtime. Please let us know if you like the idea of speeding up the battles and scenes or if you prefer them to be longer.
Wow, we really moved past Tella's death quickly. I mean, sure, it's sad that he got into this situation that he did, but really in relation to the party, I don't think we'll miss him all that much as he didn't have that much magic to use as he had some great spells, just not enough chances to use them. Plus, his daughter actually liked Edward, so I'm glad his lineage won't continue for that reason alone.
On a way more important note, Rosa, my second favorite lady behind Rydia, is saved. I'm so glad to have her back in the party. I can only imagine the usefulness she's going to give to us. I'm so happy she's back.
All right, Joe, don't get too excited about Rosa, otherwise you're going to distract Barack with your simping for sure, and we don't want that to be a problem.
Trust me, Ben, I wish it were as simple as that, but I think we're going to have bigger problems than Joe's simping of Rosa because I know who we are fighting next.
What does that mean? Is it going to be a really difficult fight or something like that? I think you can make it through just like you have been doing already.
I appreciate your confidence in me, George, but no, it's not going to be a difficult fight in that sense, but rather it's going to be hard for me to focus when Joe sees the next of the 4 fiends in a moment.
Come on, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay, now I see what you mean.
All right, here is what's going on. When she is in that tornado form, she is not able to really be hit by standard attacks all that well, so you have to use Kane's jump attack, and maybe magic could work, but we lost Tella a moment ago, so it's not so easy to test that out.
Sorry, Barack, I was listening, but I couldn't really hear you over Joe losing it over her. And I imagine she's going to go back out of the tornado form soon, and it's going to get worse.
Don't worry, George, I thought of an idea for that. It's going to require me breaking the fourth wall a little bit, but I think our audience will understand considering what we're dealing with here.
That's a great idea, Donald. It'll take me a little while to defeat her still, but you censoring her makes it so Joe doesn't get worse. The main things to worry about aside from Joe are the ray, which causes gradual petrification, which needs to be healed by a gold needle or Isuna, and tornado, which lowers health to the single digits.
Barack, I hate to suggest this, but are we able to skip through any of this fight, since it looks like it's going to be more of the same based on what I can tell?
Yeah, I don't know how much longer I can hold up here for.
All right, fine. I know it's a major encounter, but yes, it's not much different from here out, and we need Joe to get back to normal, or relatively normal at least.
Oh man, I'm going to miss you, Barbariccia. Or however you say your name, I'm not really sure.
I'm glad that went relatively smoothly, all things considered. I do wonder if the last fiend will be any more challenging since the other two have not posed much of a threat so far.
I'm kind of doubting it, as most of the boss fights have not been all that challenging, so I'm not sure what the last one is going to do that the other ones haven't already done. Does that sound about right, Barack?
Actually, yes, that is a good assumption. This game isn't all that difficult to begin with, and having increased experience in the Pixel Remaster version only makes that more apparent. I don't exactly remember what the strategies are for each fight, but even when I didn't like with the Mega Sisters a few minutes ago, they barely posed a threat to us.
You know what's even more of a threat than the bosses of this game? Hunter Biden, since he is clearly irresponsible with weapons, and him getting 3 guilty charges proves that.
Oh great, I knew this was also coming at some point. This can only go well.
Actually, Donald, that was a rigged trial, and I'm sure you paid off the jury and judge to find him guilty, since that's clearly what happened, so I expect not to have a loss of any voters coming up because of this.
No, Joe, this trial was perfectly legitimate, unlike mine, which was completely biased against me, so that's how I know this is going to come across as looking bad for you and not me.
That's fake news. You know that the trial against Hunter was rigged, and your fan base will just take your word for it that yours was rigged, so my fan base will take my word that his also was, since that's how it works now. And although I'm not going to pardon him, I might as well, since even if I didn't, your fans would still hate me, so I could at least help my son out if it won't make a difference to you either way, right?
Actually, do you mind if you could pardon my guilty counts if you could? I didn't think to ask earlier, but it would really help me out if you did.
I'm not quite sure that's how it works, though. I don't think he can just pardon any crime, and I don't see why he would do it for you anyway.
Should we try to stop them from arguing or something?
Normally I would, but for this, I think it's best to let them just get it all out now rather than later.
I knew you wouldn't pardon me. It's not like you have anything else in your day going on, so I thought I would ask. I should have known you'd just be eating popsicles and ice cream all day, since what else would you really be doing?
I do way more than just eat popsicles and ice cream. I also do things like stand around and think about uploading to my 30 followers on Instagram. I got quite a few more since I posted that picture of the Metal Gear a while back.
This is really getting us nowhere. I'm sure we can talk about this on the debate stage or something, but I don't want to keep us away from the game so much more than we already have.
Thank you for finally bringing that to a close. I'm sure it will be coming up again at some point, but I'll take what I can get. While they were arguing, some rather important things happened in the game. The party were teleported to Baron, and Kane gave the magma stone. It turns out there's a town where dropping the magma stone will actually open up a hole in the mountains that lets us travel to the underground, where there's more areas to explore. Somehow the Red Wings were already here, which doesn't really make any sense, and the airship has crashed, meaning our main way of traversal is not working.
I think there was also something about there being more than 4 crystals, which I thought was interesting. It's also odd how there seems to be an entire other civilization that the other characters didn't even know existed until now. I can imagine that would be really weird to find out. Like, imagine you dig far enough in the ground or look up at the moon and there's a lot of people who just were there for a long time.
That is weird to think about. I'm sure there are conspiracy theories around that say there are people like that, but of course none with real evidence.
You're right on that, but let's keep going before we talk too much.
Okay, Barack, what are we even looking at? Are we really supposed to be afraid of a few dolls or whatever these things are? This doesn't seem like it will pose much of a challenge.
I'll admit this is a very strange setup for a boss fight, but these are the Calco and Brina dolls. There's going to be a fight against them, and if you want to fill the bestiary, you will have to kill one of each. Regardless of how many you kill, the remaining ones are going to combine into a larger Calcabrina. It does get a little more difficult, but not very much so. Honestly, this is more of a warm-up to the next fight that is a fair bit more difficult.
You know, I've noticed something about this game that's really coming up a lot more. There's these caves or random towers or something, and this boss fight will come up with barely any build-up. They're not even really characters, as they're just here for the purpose of fighting. like these dolls or the Antlion or the Magus sisters or even the Four Fiends as they just kind of show up. I suppose ones like Biogen and Kane at least have some appearance before as to not make it too out of nowhere, but I don't think this game is good at justifying why there's a fight, and I don't think it'll be changing soon from what I can tell.
I can't even argue with that. You are right in that it's pretty out of nowhere, and you are also right in that it will continue on for the most part. I don't think it makes the game that much worse, but at least it is a little more entertaining of a fight than the standard encounters, or at least most of them are.
This isn't quite as important, but I see that the boss fight has the last part spelled as B-R-E-N-A when the singular dolls were spelled B-R-I-N-A. That's kind of weird how the spelling changed.
You're right, it's not very important, but yeah, that is weird. At least we're probably almost done with the fight and can move on to something better, is that right?
Yes, you are right. In fact, right about now, the last attack should be happening and Calcabrina is down. Like I said, this is more just a warm-up to the next part coming up in just a moment, as this isn't the last fight.
This is quite a lot for one video. There was the Magus sisters, then Golbez, but I guess that was scripted. There was that attractive tornado lady, and then the dolls, but you're saying there's even more still? I think we've already had a lot going on for today.
Yeah, that is quite a lot. I wonder how many more major enemies we're going to have in the next 4 or so minutes. I would hope it's not that many.
Don't worry, George, there's only one more, and I'll explain what's going on when it happens, which will be in just another moment, actually, as it's 2 back-to-back fights with no healing in between.
Oh wow, after that really difficult doll fight, I'm really scared as to what's coming next. Maybe there will be 7 dolls coming up instead of 6. That would be really bad for us.
Actually, it's Golbez coming back as he is still looking for the crystals. This first part of the fight is actually scripted, so we won't have to pay attention too much until the midway point, where we're going to have to start doing things.
Well, if you don't have to do anything now, then why are you putting haste on Cecil? I'm guessing he's going to need to do something coming up soon, but I couldn't think on what that would be.
I suppose I should have been a little more specific earlier, but I didn't want to give away what would happen in the fight. Let's just watch and see what happens for a moment.
So he's just killing the characters and there's no way to avoid it? This is almost as rigged as the guilty counts against me, but still not quite that bad.
Hey, was that a Miss Dragon there? I could have sworn I've seen one of those before. It was a while ago, and I think the first part many months ago, where we killed it and then killed the summoner who had the daughter.
Hold up, I think Joe's right. And the only summoner we know is that Rydia girl that fell into the ocean when the Leviathan attacked. I didn't think it could happen to where she's alive, but she must be if the Miss Dragon is back.
Does that mean Joe is going to start acting up again?
While Joe continues to do whatever it is he's doing, I'll explain that Rydia actually did survive the Leviathan. She landed somewhere here, and due to a change in the passage of time, she is actually an adult due to her being here much longer than the other characters have been going on their adventure.
Oh, wait, she's an adult now. Never mind, guys, I'm fine now.
I don't want to even think about the implications behind that sentence, so I'm just going to move on now. I used haste on Cecil to make sure he can revive the party members sooner, as by the time he's free, there isn't much he can really do before Golbez will attack again. This make it easier to get the party back up and fight. Rydia does have some summons to use along with black magic, but her white magic is gone and we won't have the really good summons until a little bit later.
That was a pretty intricate strategy, even though the fight's already over by now. At least we won't have to worry about so many more fights by the end of the video. And we finally saved a crystal for once. And we got Rydia back, which gets our party members back up to 5, and now have someone who is actually good with black magic ever since Tella died earlier. Perhaps things are finally starting to look up for the group as long as we keep the crystal here and nobody dies.
Hold up on that Donald is that Golbez's hand. Is him removing his hand just something he can do now?
And he just teleported away with the crystal? Are you serious? This is coming out of absolutely nowhere and nobody even motions towards it to stop him. The whole game is just out to inconvenience the main party members and they're not even trying to help themselves.
So we pretty much lost Tella, got back Rydia. Golbez got at least 2 crystals. We traveled underground and now we're stuck here. I think we lost more than we gained overall.
That is pretty much what happened. Yes, I did also want to briefly bring up the developer's room, or lack of one, that's in most versions of the game, though there's nothing here this time. I think that's the end for today.
I think we mentioned it earlier, but please let us know if speeding up some of the overworld parts and cutting out less necessary battles makes for a better video, or if we shouldn't do that anymore.
Next time, I certainly hope things will go better for our heroes, and maybe we'll actually get one of the crystals away from Golbez, but I'm not betting on it.
And if we're lucky, maybe the next part will take less than a month or so to come out, but really, who knows at this point?
We still have a lot of Kingdom Hearts videos to do, so I don't know.
We still appreciate those waiting for these videos and watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you to everyone that supports us, and peace out, people.